Welcome to another episode of Six Figure Secrets for Fractional Experts. My name is Bradley Jacobs. I'm your host, founder, and CEO of Mylance. Today, I'm joined by Sara Nay. Sara is the CEO of Duct Tape Marketing. She's been with the company for 16 years and is the author of Unchained, Breaking Free from Broken Marketing Models. Sara, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, Bradley.
You're welcome. So I'm so excited for our conversation because not many people these days have been with the company for 16 years and you rose through the ranks, right? Like you didn't come in as C-level. So I'm curious what that journey was like. And especially as a female, right? There's so few female CEOs these days. We're just talking about it. What was that journey like?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't come in at C-level at all. I came in as an intern. So on the very bottom. So I started as an intern. I didn't have a lot of marketing, honestly, business experience at that point. I was still kind of figuring out career path where I wanted to go. Fell in love with the mission of Duct Tape Marketing. We are all about truly empowering small business owners and making their life easier when it comes to marketing and sales and growth. So I really love the people that we support. So after the internship, I decided this was for me, and I moved into various roles over the years at the company. So I've been like account manager, community manager, eventually became fractional CMO to some of our clients, COO for our business. And then it's been about a year now that I've been in the CEO seat. And so what I always think about in that is I have a little bit of a unique perspective as the CEO at Duct Tape Marketing because I've been in so many different roles within our company that it makes me a better leader and a better manager because I'm able to mentor the team a lot more because I'm able to say, okay, I know what it's like as a fractional CMO and I can relate and I can give them direction moving forward. So it's arguably made me a better leader just by gaining all of that experience over the years.
What would you say in going from intern to CEO across 15 years? What was the number one most important trait that you exhibited that helped you make those jumps and jumps and jumps and jumps?
I think a couple of things together. Like I'm very dedicated to our company, our clients, our team. Like I care a lot. So that's been shown because when you care about something a lot, you give it all of your effort. And so, that dedication, but also the thing in marketing or just in business in general right now is you really need to have a growth mindset. You have to continuously be learning and exploring and testing and experimenting new things. And that's always been a big passion of mine. I'm like usually listening or reading to like a couple books at a time on business and, attending any training and conferences and events that I can. And so it's that combination of caring a lot about what we do, but also the growth mindset of always wanting to improve and get better as well.
I love that. If you're focused on the title and the money and the power and all that stuff, it's like, it just doesn't, it never lands well, right?
Yeah.
How can I learn? How can I add value? Who can I support? How can I learn new things? You get rewarded for that.
Yeah, exactly. And I have done a lot of deep dives on mindset and growth over the last few years as well. And I'm a big believer in doing things that are a little bit uncomfortable for you are often opportunities for growth. And so I talk about sometimes like I used to be absolutely terrified of public speaking. Like literally this podcast, I would have been like sweating and just like worked up about it, or even like saying my name in front of 5 people in a room. Like I was that shy of an introvert, but I just kept doing it and focusing on it and putting the reps in. And now I can speak on stage at a conference. And yes, I still get nervous, but I'm not anywhere near where I used to be. And so, identifying opportunities like that over the years have helped me continue to evolve as well.
I love that you share that because just there's so few conversations I've heard really about the mindset and really what it actually takes. I think so many people are like, oh, I'm scared of public speaking. And that's just how it is. Oh, I'm scared of it versus I'm scared of it. And I'm going to actively put myself in situations where I can work on it.
Yeah, exactly. It often is an opportunity for incredible growth. Like there's a reason it's scaring you a little bit. So it comes down to uncovering what's the why and if it's important to you. And so for me, public speaking, it's important in this role because I'm becoming more of the face of the brand and I'm getting out there and I'm speaking and I'm doing podcasts and I'm doing all this stuff. So like that is something that I needed to grow into to be successful as a CEO. And so because of that, I was willing to put the effort in to not be as scared anymore. And so I think if something does scare you, it comes down to, is it important in your career? Is it important in your role? Is it important in your growth? And then if it scares you, then continue just to pursue it. And one thing that I've learned in all of that too is stuff might feel really hard and awkward in the beginning. Like I used to have my own podcast and I remember like the first intro I had to do for someone, I like stumbled so hard and it felt so awkward and painful, which a lot of podcast hosts can probably relate to. But again, like things that feel really hard and awkward in the beginning, like if you just keep showing up for them, they get easier every time.
Look, I mean, this podcast is for founders, and I'd say no matter what kind of founder you are, where you're at in your business, what you've done, there's going to be elements of running your own business that are scary, uncomfortable, not familiar. You're putting yourself out there in more ways than one, right? It's not just a LinkedIn post. It's like, this is my product. This is my team. I'm curious as you think about, you're like, okay, just do it, right? Like if you're scared of public speaking, just do it. It's kind of easy to say that. In practice, it's really unnerving. How do you think about actually putting yourself in that uncomfortable situation or pressing submit on the LinkedIn post and, I don't know, navigating it, feeling okay about it?
I think just starting small and then continuing to grow. So going back to like the public speaking example, like I launched my podcast because I was like, okay, I need to get more comfortable speaking. And so I started there because that's, it feels like a conversation. You're not like on a stage where people are staring at you. So I started there and I got more comfortable. And then after that, I started guesting on more and more podcasts and same kind of thing. And then I started presenting on webinars. So it was like, I was still behind my comfort of my screen, but it was like in front of multiple people, not just one that I could see. And then I started, getting more speaking events in person. So it's not like I went like, I'm going to not be scared of public speaking and I'm going to just like dive on in. I put like baby steps along the way to gain confidence and to get, hopefully some positive feedback along the way that kept me coming back and doing it more and more. And so the same thing with like a LinkedIn post to your example, start with something a little bit safer, but then develop your personality over time and just stick with it. And like the thing that you always have to keep in mind is when you're putting yourself out there, like there will be probably negative people and negative feedback that come your way. And as a business owner, you just have to learn to brush some of that stuff off over the years.
I'm curious, have you had a business coach or a mindset coach or multiple? Like, how do you think about getting support outside of like, yep, baby steps, just do it, but getting outside support as well?
Yeah, I think absolutely getting outside support makes a lot of sense. I mean, for me, I am like such a self learner that I read a bunch of books and I took an 8-month course on mindset. So it was like, I want to learn it all myself versus necessarily like working with a coach because I wanted to just dive deep. But I do think if you're listening and you're someone that wants that accountability and that mentorship, then a coach is absolutely a great way to go.
Because I found, even when I coach some of our customers, they might be scared to post on LinkedIn. And when I really just get curious about like, what are you really scared of? They uncover something that they didn't realize to be true. Oh, I'm actually scared of judgment. I'm like, okay, well, what happens if you get judged? Right. And it kind of like goes back to potentially like a childhood thing or it's a really old wound or whatever it is. I found that to be really valuable. And I'm curious if you've explored that in like the why, as you said, like what's underneath it.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing, because I work with a lot of fractional CMOs, marketing agencies that are in like startup mode. So they're just getting launched and they're ready to grow and scale. And a lot of people that are starting these businesses, have maybe been like a CMO at a company for 15 years. And now this is their first business. And so they know marketing really well, but now they also have to be a salesperson and they have to go out there and put their content out there. And they also have to like figure out how to package and price what they're worth when they're kind of just getting started and they need that confidence. And so a lot of it does come down to taking a step back and understanding like what's going on from a mindset perspective. Because if you can help them gain that confidence, they're going to go out there and charge what they're worth, which is going to help them be able to actually scale up their business versus ending up like working really hard and not getting results. And so I do think a lot of people skip over that mindset stuff when they're starting a business, but if you're going to have these big blockers in place, whether it's like public speaking or sales or confidence in your pricing, like it's going to get in your way long term. So addressing those things early on, I think is really important and continuing to work on them too.
Yeah, it's like a never ending journey. I want to pivot and really talk about marketing. Obviously, it's what you do. You've been doing it for a long time, which is beautiful because the landscape has changed a lot and quickly. How have you seen things evolve over the last, let's just say 2, 3, 4 years?
I mean, obviously AI is the first thing that I have to throw in there. My book, Unchained, Breaking Free from Broken Marketing Models, it talks a lot about how the agency model is breaking. And more people are starting to say this now, but it's breaking because small businesses are now able to bring marketing execution in-house at a much more affordable rate than they ever have before. And so it's a call really to agencies to shift their model, but also to small businesses to think about owning their marketing versus renting it and outsourcing it completely, which sounds a little crazy coming from someone that runs a marketing agency. But the moral of the story is, even though you can bring some execution in-house, where a lot of people struggle with AI is they skip over the strategy and the leadership component. And so they start bringing in these tools, and all of a sudden they're creating content that's generic that anyone could be creating. And so I believe you still need, as a small business, someone in the marketing leadership seat, whether it's a fractional CMO or whoever it might be, that can own, okay, what's the business strategy? What's the marketing strategy based on that? Okay, what does this look like on a 90-day basis? What are we going to track? What are we going to define as successful or not? And really oversee and own the marketing component. I see a lot of businesses over the years that I've worked with that are more in like growth mode. So they're under 1 million. And at that point, the CEO is often the CEO and the CMO and the COO and the CFO and all of the things. And, oftentimes that business owner doesn't have a ton of marketing experience. And so they're spread too thin. And then all of their marketing just becomes a massive list of tactics versus like, what does the business actually need to be doing? Again, where marketing's shifting and evolving is I think you could have a bit of a leaner execution team, but don't skip over that marketing leadership position.
And you said something interesting there about it can become that list of tactics and you're kind of missing this like holistic strategy. And I'm curious, as let's say, the businesses that are under 1 million that are very much still figuring things out and figuring out like what are the sustainable growth strategies for us? How do they come up with a sustainable growth strategy? Like, what does that really look like?
So for us, like we've had a set process for strategy that we've done for years. It's evolving and getting better with AI because we're able to get more information to data that we ever had before. But with strategy, it's doing a baseline of where you're at today from a marketing and brand audit perspective, because you need to know kind of your foundational where you're at to make any decisions. And then from there, it's doing competitive research. It's interviewing some of your best clients to learn more about them. And then it's developing ideal client profiles and messaging that resonates to those people directly. Because a couple things, that's step 1 and 2 of marketing. You need to know who you're targeting with what message in order to be successful in anything else. But that's also incredibly valuable information to train ChatGPT or Claude or whatever tool of your choice on moving forward. So again, you're not creating generic content, you're creating content that speaks to your people that you're targeting. So that's step 1 and step 2. And then after you do all that, it's thinking about, okay, what does your customer journey look like? We have our own version at Duct Tape Marketing called the Marketing Hourglass. So essentially thinking through how can people get to know, like, trust, try, buy, repeat, and refer you. And looking at each of those stages in your customer journey and analyzing where are your gaps and where are your opportunities to do better. Because when someone moves through that whole journey successfully, they become repeat and refer clients, which is often where your business can truly actually grow versus just getting in front of more and more people. Then you should look at, okay, what content do we need to produce to guide the stages of the customer journey? And then what are our 4 to 6 biggest growth priorities to do over the next quarter, and what do we need to track in order to be successful on these things? And so that's what we work through in strategy. And so if you're listening to this, maybe that feels like overkill if you're just kind of in startup mode essentially, but just at least looking at who's our ideal client, what's our messaging, what's our customer journey look like, okay, what should we do moving forward, what should we track, I think is a really important piece. Because if you skip through all of that, you're just doing all these things without guiding people effectively. And that's where businesses come and say, marketing doesn't work. Marketing's complicated. I'm spending money. I'm not getting a return. I have no idea what's working and what's not, type of stuff.
Yeah. I love how clearly and tangibly you broke that out of the steps. And if you don't track it, you have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, I would say, one of the number one challenges in small business marketing when a business is trying to handle the marketing on their own, or they're working with a not great agency. They don't know what to track, or they're tracking what I call vanity metrics. So, your website traffic. It's like, yes, you want to know that you're getting traffic to your website, but that's not where the story should end. It should also be, okay, how many people filled out the form? How many people booked consultations? How many of those people turned into clients? And what revenue does that look like? What's the customer lifetime value? Because if you're not tracking all of those steps, you don't know if your marketing's actually getting a return or not. And so a lot of people end up just like doing all the things. And then when I take a step back and I'm like, okay, you're sending direct mail, you're spending paid ads, you're doing organic search, you're doing all of these things, like what's working, what's not. They're like, I don't know. Then you're, spending money and you have no idea why. And so that's where it's really important to take a step back and be like, okay, if we're going to do direct mail, for example, if you're like a local service-based business, it might make sense. Then how are you going to determine if that's successful or not? Okay, probably put a QR code and a custom phone number on the piece, send them to a dedicated landing page, and then actually track, if anyone called and converted from that direct mail piece, because then you can say, yes, we generated revenue from this. Yes, we should do this again.
Right. And I've seen attribution, which I think is basically what we're talking about, be one of the most challenging things.
Yeah.
You do have to track it all the way through the customer lifecycle from, let's say it's that QR code in direct mail that goes to a landing page that has a UTM parameter that is stored in the database, and, whether it flows through a CRM or whatever internal system you have. But at the end of the day, if Bradley is the sales rep who converted that customer who came from direct mail where the lead came from, we need to know all of those things.
Yeah. I mean, it's helpful for the salesperson getting on a call to understand, what all they've consumed along the way. And so I do sales for our business. And so I'm able to look up in our CRM, like the person I'm speaking to in advance. And I can see, we've been around for 30 years. I can say they've been on our email list for 10 years. They've bought these things. They've been engaged in this way. And so my sales conversation with them is going to be a lot different than, oh, this person came from an ad and they haven't been on our list before and they have no idea who Duct Tape Marketing is. And so I'm going to have to handle that call differently than I would with someone that's like, I've been a fan of your company for 10 years. I can't believe I finally booked this call. And so giving your salespeople that type of information helps them be more successful in their role.
And do you guys use Salesforce or HubSpot or something else?
No, we use Kit, which was ConvertKit before it changed their name to Kit. Yep.
Okay.
And it's been great for us. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. Cause I'm always curious, you guys know, I would assume the best tools. So I'm like always wondering, like, what is everybody else using that really knows their stuff?
Yeah, I mean, we've worked within so many platforms over the years for our clients because a lot of times we'll run their email marketing platforms. So we've been in HubSpot and Salesforce and ActiveCampaign and Infusionsoft back in the day. So like we've worked in all the different platforms, and I don't think there's like a one size fits all. I think it depends on your business, your size, your revenue, your growth goals, what all you need to track. But Kit is a really great option. It gives you a lot of information. It's affordable. It's easy to figure out. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles of the other platforms, but it gives us the information we need.
I'm so curious. We focus a lot on LinkedIn content, LinkedIn thought leadership, building trust through LinkedIn. What's your take on LinkedIn these days? There's all these different challenges around it and thoughts, but I'm curious your take right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're in the B2B space from a social media perspective, that's where you should be spending most of your time. I think that there's a right way and wrong way of approaching LinkedIn though. And especially with the age of AI, I see when I get onto LinkedIn these days, not only LinkedIn posts, but like AI posts and then AI comments and then AI messages. And it's very easy to see through that. And so I think if you're thinking about LinkedIn as like a volume play, you're thinking about it the wrong way. But if you're thinking about it still as to what it was meant to be as like a relationship building platform where you're going to provide value and you're going to make connections, then I think it's an incredibly valuable platform. But I think that on LinkedIn, you need to be doing a couple things in terms of like posting on a consistent basis, content that your ideal clients want to learn about, but also commenting on other people's content as well, and then thoughtfully making connections.
I love the providing value. It's so simple, right? Just like I'm going to share with you what I've learned, not from a cringy self-promotion, look at me way, just to like, here's how I've experienced this in my business or past business or with a client or whatever in an authentic way. And that's just so powerful.
Yeah. And with AI, again, obviously I'm not against AI. We use it quite a bit, but there's again, a right way and a wrong way of approaching it. But one of the beauties in AI is it's made repurposing content so much easier. So you can be on more platforms now. And so let's say, this podcast, I could take the recording of this, the transcript of it. I could put it into ChatGPT. It's already been trained on my voice and stories, and I could turn it into a series of LinkedIn posts that I can now post moving forward. And so I think that's one thing to think about, because the content production can be overwhelming as a business owner, especially when you're doing all the other things in the business. And so I'm really big on thinking about how you can create thoughtful content and then repurpose it on LinkedIn, email newsletters, all different channels ultimately moving forward.
Yeah. And I'm very open that I take this podcast. This is the top of our content pyramid, if you will. I take the transcript and turn it into a newsletter, a blog, LinkedIn posts, right? And then we take the video short form across X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube shorts, LinkedIn video. It turns into 50 pieces of content for me every week.
Yeah. And before AI, it would have taken you a lot more time to do all of that. I mean, someone manually would have, and we used to do that manually. We have a podcast at Duct Tape Marketing that's been here for 20 years. We've been doing it. And literally everything was manual, like even taking it and turning it into a blog post. And so that's where if you're not leaning into repurposing on AI, you're really missing out on a huge opportunity. And so again, it's not just more noise, but it's more bang for the time that you put in to something that you care about content wise.
I mean, I used to pay a writer.
Yeah, so did we.
Right? I mean, yeah, that was reality. And it's interesting. It's a whole tangent we don't need to get into, but all of those people, I had a designer, I had a writer, I had different kinds of designers. I had all these people that I frankly don't need anymore. And some of them are still reaching back out to me like, hey, Bradley, do you have any work for me? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't. And I want to tell you, it's not like I replaced you with another human. I just want you to know so that you can go either learn a new skill or figure out a different strategy. Because yeah, I'm not alone in not needing that service anymore.
Yeah, and that's where speaking to, because I speak a lot of marketers and even people entering the marketing space from college right now, which is just unknown and could be overwhelming. But I talk to a lot of people about, instead of focusing on execution, so some of the things you mentioned, like design and writing and all that stuff, focus on building systems and managing processes, because everyone on my team, that was in the execution roles before, so maybe they were writing content from scratch 100%. Now I'm asking them to manage a writing process and edit content, for blogs, for example. They're doing research and prompting and creating outlines all within AI and then creating the first draft. And so they're giving their knowledge and experience and input on the front end, and then they're using AI to move faster, and then they're editing on the back end. And so in the sense, they're becoming managers of a process or a system instead of actual executors. And so developing skills and management, I think, is really important in marketers if you've always been in that executor role. And so to the people that are reaching out to you, instead of offering just one piece, it's I'll build out your post-production podcast experience using AI so you can optimize it, and I'll help run it moving forward, would probably be a better offer right now than I'll do one piece of post-production.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned AI about repurposing content and even coming up with, first drafts of things. How else are you guys using AI? What are the highest leverage things a founder can be doing?
I use it for strategy and research a lot too. You can think of AI as a thought partner where you're still the thought leader, but AI is here to help you think and work alongside. I think that's important versus just something that can help you with execution. And so as I talk through that strategy first package that we do for all clients, we now use AI with the research. And so one of the steps in strategy first is doing competitive research. Before AI, we would go out and we would do all of the research manually, and it would take an incredible amount of time, and we wouldn't get anywhere near the information we get today. Now we still do go out and look at the competitors, but we also pull a deep research report, which is a 30-page report that gives us more information than we ever wanted to know about the competitors. And so think about from a strategy perspective and a research perspective, what can you learn and how can you use AI to support you in that as well, I think is a great opportunity.
Because AI can do so much and it's evolving by, it feels like the hour, let's just say by the day. And what action do you actually need it to do for you? Because people are like, oh, I'm going to build this AI agent. It's going to be so cool. I'm like, that's great. But what is it going to do for you, right? You just gave a very real use case. Like I'm going to send it off, basically do a bunch of research, compile it, right? And we're actually going to use it for our strategy. That's a real use case, not like I'm going to go build an agent that I can talk to on Telegram.
Yeah, and that's where it's like so important to like put the strategy in on the front end to understand like what needs to be done from a marketing or business perspective. Because if you don't, you're basically playing a guessing game. But one of the exercises that I did with our team a while ago, which I think is helpful, is to make a list of everything that you're doing on a consistent basis and then categorize them based on things that are increasing in value in the age of AI, things that are staying stable, things that are decreasing in value, but also analyze like what are things you like to do, what do you enjoy, what keeps you engaged, and then also what are the things that you kind of hate doing. And so then you can look at your list of things that are like decreasing in value that you don't like doing. Then you can say, can AI do these things? And then you can say, what tools do I need to bring in to solve this specific problem? And so I think it's really important to like look at what you're doing and think about it that way, because as you said, agents are new and exciting and people are trying to build them out, but it's like there's fundamental things that you're doing on a consistent basis that you don't need to be doing. So free up some of that space so you can be more strategic and you can communicate better and you can be more creative and do the things that AI can't do as well yet.
Yeah, I love that. Have you read Built to Sell by chance?
I have not, but I'm familiar with it.
Okay. Because one of the things that I know you talk about is, packaging products and services. And I'm always curious, especially in the agency world, and I think this applies to almost any business, but you could probably offer almost anything for your clients. You're like, we could build you design assets or set up a workflow or paid ads or SEO or whatever. How do you think about more of a set productized service where it's like, this is the box that we offer versus we're going to be flexible and meet your needs and do whatever you need?
I've met a lot of people over the years that have led with, we're going to be flexible and meet your needs. And what happens is it's impossible to scale and revenue is incredibly unpredictable because you might get this new and exciting project and it takes all your focus and then it leaves and then you have to be looking for the next thing. And it's also hard to maintain good partners or team to help with execution because it's always like something new and you can't document, you can't systemize. So there's just a lot of challenges in growing that way. So we've been big believers for all of Duct Tape Marketing's existence that coming up with a specific package helps people understand what they're buying from a marketing perspective, but it also allows us to get really good at those things as well versus trying to be spread too thin and do all of the things in marketing. And so when people work with us, we have a 30 to 45-day package that everyone starts with. It has a very set number of deliverables I talked you through earlier, and that's like a deal or no deal. You have to go through that package with us before we move forward. But then when we go into a retainer package, we are always in the fractional CMO seat for our clients. And then we can handle some execution as well. But when we're pricing our retainers, it's like, here's our fee for our fractional CMO services. Here's our fee for ongoing execution as well. And this is exactly what you're going to get every month, number of meetings, number of reports, like all of those things. And so when you can start communicating with clients like that, again, it helps you stay in your zone of genius as a business because you're focusing on things that you can repeat and get better at each time. But it also helps it easier for your customers and prospects to understand what they're buying because unfortunately marketing can be somewhat complicated to purchase.
Yeah. I love that they have this kind of set thing they need to go through to work with you, right? And I think some businesses, especially earlier on, you're kind of scared to do that. What if they don't want to do it? It's like, well, if they don't want to do it, then they don't get to work with us. And like, that's okay.
I mean, because like I said, we also have a certification program where we certify new fractional CMOs, agencies, consultants in this approach. And I get those questions often like, well, what if they just want a website? I don't want to lose the business. And my pushback is always, you can't do a website well if you don't know who you're targeting, with what message, what the customer journey needs to look like. You need all of that information in order to build a website. So if you don't charge them for strategy on the front end, you're just going to do it for free as part of the website build and you're selling your value at nothing at that point. I've been a big believer over the years, like people obviously have come to us and say, can you just help with our paid ads? Or can you just help us with our website? Or we just need this thing. And I'm always like, yes, after we do strategy, because I can do those things so much, and I'm not just trying to like upsell them into more. It's like, I can't do that stuff well until I know all the stuff that will guide doing those things.
Right. So your options, if they say no, or you either do it for free because you know you need to do it, or you don't do it, and then you build a website that inherently is not a good output because you didn't do the work ahead of time to.
Yeah. And I don't know how many stories I've heard over the last 16 years of small businesses being like, I spent thousands of dollars on a new website and it's pretty, but nothing's happening.
Right.
And then when you start uncovering like the why, it's like they hired a company and they charge them a lot of money and they build a website that looks nice, but it doesn't actually speak to their clients or do any of the things that a website should. So it's really important. I know it's sometimes hard to be patient for strategy, but I always tell people if we go through strategy, it's going to save you time, energy, money in the long run. So invest now for a successful future in your business.
And it lasts for a long time, right? Like eventually maybe it pivots, you need to refresh, whatever, but it can get you a long time and you're grounded into, all right, this is my customer and this is the value that we add and this is what differentiates us and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. And as you said, there's a heavy lifting once, but then, on a yearly basis, maybe you're just relooking and analyzing the strategy. And maybe you're interviewing some of your new ideal clients just to kind of get different perspectives. But it's not like you're having to go through this whole strategy creation every single year. It's a lot of times laying the foundation and then just helping it continue to evolve as your business needs evolve.
Yeah. So you start with this initial upfront offer, right? Everyone gets to go through that. And then you're like, okay, we're going to help you with some of the execution stuff and actually make this strategy come to life. How flexible are you then? Like if someone's like, okay, SEO is going to be our strategy. Do you have an SEO expert? Do you have the paid ad? Do you have everybody? Do you need to like freelance people sometimes? Like, what does that look like?
So we're always, once we're in retainer, we're always staying in the fractional CMO role with our clients. And so we're overseeing all of their marketing team. And so what we do is once we understand what needs to be done, which is the end of strategy, we basically put it all into an execution calendar. We'll then say, okay, who do you currently have on your team? And should they stay around or not? And if yes, that's great. And then we analyze, okay, if we're going to focus on these priorities, it looks like you don't have a website developer and you don't have an SEO expert, for example. And so we'll bring in our team internally, or we do have partners that we'll bring in from time to time. But essentially what we're doing is we're helping them build a marketing department with the key roles they need in place to execute the strategy that we would have put together, or we help them hire the roles internally is another option as well. I hesitate saying we're a marketing agency, like that's what people know of us as, but we're more of a fractional CMO business, because perfect world in a lot of cases is when a small business can have some internal marketers in place and then they're bringing us in as a fractional. It makes it a lot more affordable for them. And then they have ownership and control of their marketing.
We were talking in the beginning that just a tiny, tiny percentage of CEOs are female. I'd love to hear just what that's like. What is it like to run a business as a woman in today's business world?
Challenging, rewarding, always learning. Being in the CEO seat, it's interesting because you have a team relying on you. And so there's been a lot of leadership stuff that I've had to learn over the years, because sometimes it can feel lonely, when you're at the top of a company. And so yeah, it's like there's days where it's complete roller coaster for me where I'm like, this is the best thing ever. And then it's like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. But I think that's normal and that's part of the process.
Yeah. I mean, is that the biggest challenge for you, kind of that roller coaster, or is it something else?
Yeah. And I've learned to ride the roller coaster over the years. Because like I said earlier, I really do care about our business and our team and our clients. And so like if a team member was unhappy or a client left or our revenue was down, like it's hard not to take all that stuff personally as a leader. And so it's been a lot. That's another like mindset thing that I've had to really work on is, we're not going to be like the best fit for everyone, but as long as we're doing our best work and, I know that we're getting value and results to our clients, that's been a challenge and stuff that I've had to work on over the years is like, there's going to be downs, but oftentimes the down leads to a better upside in the long run for everyone involved.
Yeah. How big is the business now as far as number of people that you work with?
There's about 15 of us.
My guess is being part of the company for 16 years, you've built up so much trust and rapport and the business inside and out. Everyone respects you. And so I think my guess is it's easier to be in the CEO role. Not that it's ever easy, but it's slightly easier given like coming up through the ranks versus just being brought in and like, all right, I'm Sarah, like everyone listen to me.
Yeah, I agree. I've developed close relationships. We have, as an agency, there's a lot of turnover. We have actually really great retention with our team. And so we have people that have been working with us for years and they've seen me grow, from where I was before to where I am today and been really supportive along the way.
Amazing. If people want to work with you, learn from you, like what's the best way to get in touch?
Ducttapemarketing.com is our website. And then I'm also very active on LinkedIn. My name is Sara Nay on LinkedIn as well.
Awesome. So, and we'll link all the links in the show notes so people can easily find you. Sara, thanks so much for joining us today and sharing. I really appreciate how tangible you made things and just sharing your process. So really appreciate that.
Thanks for having me on.